What happened to have turned Trump into a George Bush since January 3rd? He's doing wars, dismissing Epstein situation, and essentially, without going into a long message, very different from who he was when we voted him in. Why is it that politicians, not the ones who are in the system, but those who are often persecuted and even arrested or abused before getting into power, are very different when in power as opposed to how they were when they lived their lives on when their lives are on the line? All right. This is an interesting question. Everything you just said, you don't know. Everything you just said is what you read on the internet or what you heard on some news organization or what you heard some radio commentators say. Think about it. Everything you know about Donald Trump, everything is what the media has presented. Everything. Everything you know about the Epstein situation, everything you know about the wars in Ukraine, what goes on in Russia, what goes on in North Korea, what goes on in China, everything you know about anything, you don't know any of it. You're just a parrot repeating what you've heard and have been told by someone else who also doesn't know. The media reads the press releases from the government or corporations, and they just repeat it as if it's fact. They have no knowledge. Perfect example was the Strait of Hormuz recently. There was all this reports about the Strait of Hormuz being closed and nobody can go through and there's mines and all this stuff. And there was a reporter who said, you know something, I want to see for myself. So he went out there and got on a boat and he counted hundreds and hundreds of ships going through. He goes, they're reporting that no ships are going through the strait. That's what's being reported all over the world. The strait's closed. He goes, I'm sitting here and I'm counting them. One, it's like a line. Nothing's changed. But how come they're reporting one thing when the reality is something else? Why do you think? Look, if you read anything on the internet, anything on Twitter or X, you start reading stuff on the social medias and you believe it, you are a fool, an absolute fool. A fool. The fact that you even read it means you're a fool. Why would you waste your time reading something that is probably not correct? And somebody says, well, Kevin, do you read any of that stuff?